On Virex Prime, stories are whispered beneath the jungle canopy. Of a man who would not die. Of prey who turned and hunted back. Zari, once the galaxy's most feared huntress, now teaches the next generation not in conquest, but in caution and in respect for those who fight like cornered gods. Somewhere out in the stars, the soldier walks still, scarred and silent, always watching, waiting, a myth forged in fire and blood, unkillable, unyielding, human. Let me know if you'd like the full story compiled into one document, or any tweaks for tone or publication. His breath came in ragged bursts, thick with heat and the taste of blood. Leaves the size of body bags rustled high above, dripping with alien dew. The canopy of Virex Prime offered no welcome, only suffocating green, filtered sunlight, and the distant screeches of things that hunted even when they weren't hungry. Derek Kale spat into the moss and wiped grime from his brow. His dropship was gone, ripped from the sky like paper in a storm. The wreckage nothing but burning slag miles back. Sabotage. He'd known the moment the controls had gone dead and the comms cut out. Now, boots torn, ribs likely cracked, and only a half-melted combat knife to his name, he was exactly where they wanted him. And they wanted him dead. Test, they said. Diplomatic exercise. Bullshit. It was execution by exile, done quietly, politically, wrapped in ceremony. Let the galaxy's apex predator do the job and no one's hands stayed dirty. He took another step through the underbrush, muscles coiled, eyes scanning. Something was watching. He wasn't wrong. Zari crouched on a wide limb above. Her obsidian talons curled into bark, glowing eyes narrowing with calculated hunger. There he was, the last human delegate, Earth's stubborn mouthpiece. The Council had dressed the hunt in ritual language, removed the unstable element, cleansed the table of their noise. But to her, it was simpler. He was prey, and she was the knife sent to end him. She inhaled deeply, the pheromones of his blood and sweat blooming. Across her split senses, strange, his scent was fear-laced but grounded. Not panicked, measured. She licked her lips. Good. She preferred when they ran. Zari adjusted the grip on her blade, a curved fang of living crystal, pulsing faint green, and dropped silently to the jungle floor. It was time. Derek's spine stiffened. He didn't see her. He felt her. He ducked just as a black blur exploded from the vines. Claws ripped past his head and slammed into the tree behind him. She was on him like a missile, screaming something guttural in a language older than stars. Derek rolled. Fast. Years of Earth Wars had tuned his reflexes to the edge of instinct. Her blade hissed inches from his gut as he kicked off a root and vaulted down a slope of loose soil and ferns. She chased, laughing. He ducked under a fallen log and sprinted, lungs burning. She was fast, inhumanly so, but he knew terrain. She glided like a wolf. He moved like a cornered rat who'd bitten wolves before. He twisted between trees and dove into a ravine choked with vines, disappearing beneath thick cover. Silence. Zari landed at the edge of the ravine, crouching like a predator denied its kill. Her nostrils flared. Gone. She stood upright, pacing slowly, running her clawed fingers along the mossy bark of a nearby trunk. Her lip curled upward. Clever little soldier. She crouched and picked up a broken fragment of armor, still warm from his body. I expected a bloodbath, she muttered, more to herself than anything. Not a damn game of chase. Still. She tilted her head. The challenge sparked something beneath her ribs. No one had ever dodged her first strike before. Not in 100 hunts. No one. Her tail flicked once, sharply. Her blade pulsed in her. Rip. Oh yes, this was going to be delightful. Derek crouched in a hollow beneath a rotted log, every muscle tensed, knife in hand. His chest heaved. Blood trickled down his side where one of her claws had grazed him. Too shallow to be fatal, but deep enough to remind him what she was. That thing was built for the kill. Black skin gleaming like lacquered armor, crimson tribal ink across her. face and chest, yellow eyes like molten gold, and a grin that promised violence, not hate. She loved the hunt, he didn't. War was never something to love. He closed his eyes, heart slowing. They thought they could throw him away, just another primitive soldier from a backward planet, but he was still breathing, and the moment he caught his breath, she'd be bleeding. High above, Valzari perched once more on a thick branch, watching the ravine with gleaming eyes. She traced his last footprints, the pattern of his retreat, the snap of broken vine at just the wrong angle. She recognized intent. This wasn't desperation. He was baiting her, testing her. Her smile widened. For the first time in years, she felt her heart beat faster, not from exertion but excitement. He was cleverer than he looked. She flicked her blade once and let the plasma hum drift into the air. A warning. No. An invitation. This, she purred into the wind, might be fun. The jungle had rules. Derek Kale just didn't follow the ones written by aliens. Valzari struck again at dawn, silent as breath, her form gliding between branches. Her first attack had failed, but now she came with tricks. Darts dipped in, paralytic resin, spores that induced hallucinations, pheromone bombs to manipulate fear. Derek wasn't fooled, not twice. When the first dart whistled past his neck, he dropped instantly, letting momentum carry him into a roll behind a twisted stump. He recognized the pattern, traps designed to disorient, confuse, and funnel him into an ambush. It was clever, but he'd been funneled before, on Earth in slums and bombed-out ruins where the enemy had eyes on every roof. And back then, he'd learned one truth. Predict their pattern, and you can break it. So he vanished again. Valzari hissed. From her perch, crouched low, nostrils flaring. Her traps had failed. Again. She had him cornered by the river's edge, had laced the trees with pollen that induced vertigo and panic. It should have left him vulnerable. He should have stumbled, screamed, run wildly into her claws. Instead, he'd vanished beneath the roots of a black-spiked tree, then flanked her from below. She'd felt a sharp sting against her thigh and leapt back, hissing in pain. Blood. Her own. It dripped down her leg in fat beads, dark and steaming. He'd struck her. No one had ever drawn her blood. She landed hard, crouched beside a moss-covered boulder and examined the wound. A sharpened stake, crudely made, carved from jungle bone. But it had been placed, not random. He had learned her path. He had baited her. She bared her fangs and let out a low growl that shook the nearby leaves. Derek watched her from a hollowed-out tree trunk, breath steady. Sweat clung to his skin like oil. The wound on his side packed with crushed bark and sealed, with stripped vines. He didn't have her claws, her strength, her weapons, but he had something she didn't. Discipline. He remembered it like muscle memory. Camp Echo, Bolivia, monsoon season. 30 days dropped in with no rations, no comms, and no rules. His squad had called it Hell Drop. He'd called it training. In that jungle, he'd hunted gorillas with sniper rifles and chemical mines. Here, he hunted something, far worse, with nothing but grit and rusted instinct. He moved like a ghost through the underbrush, laying tripwires made from twisted vines, setting pressure snares beneath jungle loam, fashioning decoys of bundled foliage to bleed scent markers. Every movement was deliberate. If she wanted to play this game, he would teach her how Earth played. Valzari pounced on the dummy with a triumphant roar, only to tumble into a mud pit, 6 feet deep and lined with spikes made from sharpened femurs of some long-dead beast. She twisted in midair, barely avoiding impalement, landing hard on her side with a wet splat. The impact knocked the wind from her, and then came the pain, fire along her ribs. Her own momentum had driven a bone. Shard across her flank, she clawed her way out, dripping with sludge and snarling. Her armor was shredded, her pride rattled. From the shadows, laughter echoed. Low, human. She whipped around, eyes glowing, but Derek was already gone. Only a crude effigy remained, a tied bundle of branches with a carved face and hollow eyes. Staring at her like a joke, she crushed it beneath her heel. Later that night, the jungle echoed with distant thunder, rain clouds gathering in violet masses above the canopy. Zari stalked through the trees, blood mixing with water as it slid down her body in rivulets. She breathed heavily, each movement a reminder of the dozens of micro cuts and bruises now marring her perfect skin. She hated it. She hated him. Yet, beneath that hate, something else had begun to take root. Fear. She, the blood fang of Virex, had never known what it felt like to be studied, tracked, outmaneuvered. This wasn't a simple hunt anymore. It was a war of minds. She had always seen prey as lesser, rabbits scrambling from the hawk, but now, she wasn't sure she was the hawk. She wasn't sure he was the rabbit. Derek moved with purpose now. Every encounter taught him more. She struck high, preferred aerial ambushes, relied on pheromones and toxins, relentless but emotional. She underestimated resilience, overcommitted when enraged. Good. He could use that. He laid a spring snare across a gully trail, baiting it with the shredded remnants of his own shirt, stained with his blood. She'd follow the scent. She always did. And when she triggered it, she'd be thrown hard against a net of bone thorns and woven vines, enough to tear even her demonic skin. But he didn't stick around to see it. He knew she'd escape it. He just needed her off balance. Every day she hunted him, he took more of her time, more of her attention. He was bleeding her dry, not with blades but with frustration. That was how you defeated predators. You made them question themselves. Zari limped through a shallow ravine, one arm cradling her ribs. She hadn't slept in 2 days. Her eyes twitched with every flicker of movement. Senses stretched thin. She hated that she was beginning to admire him. No prey should last this long. No prey should fight back with such intelligence. It wasn't just survival anymore. He was hunting her. She stumbled into a clearing and froze. In the center lay a crude snare trap, already triggered. Its rope hung from the trees like a jungle noose, but that wasn't what stopped her. It was what was left behind. A splintered femur, stripped and carved. Primitive, but unmistakable. Etched into the bleached surface in jagged Terran glyphs were 3 words: "Your turn to run." Her claws tightened around her blade. For the first time in her life, Zari did not smile. Zari ran. Her breath came in shallow bursts, each inhalation cutting her lungs like shards. Blood trickled from the reopened wound on her thigh, a rhythmic drip painting the leaves crimson beneath her. The jungle, once her kingdom, now closed in like a snare. He was hunting her. Derek Kale, the human, the prey, but not anymore. Now she felt eyes on her back, silent, methodical, merciless in their patience. He moved without sound, left no scent trail, laid no footprints. He had become what she once was. She hated him for it. She feared him for it. And though she didn't yet understand it, she respected him for it. Derek knelt low beneath the tangled canopy, scanning the mist. His breathing was measured. He wasn't chasing for revenge. This wasn't about payback. He didn't want to kill her. But this had to end. The council had turned this into a blood game, a stage for politics, masked as tradition. Zari was their champion, a weapon meant to erase him. But she wasn't the problem. She was a product of a brutal system, just like he had once been. He watched her pass below, limping, slowing. She didn't even know he was behind her. He could end it now, a stone, a strike to the back of the head. Quick, silent, but he didn't move. He waited. Zari collapsed beside a fallen root, panting, clutching her side. Her claws trembled. The pain was alien, not the physical. She was no stranger to injury, but the doubt. Why can't I beat him? Her memory drifted back. She saw herself as a child, small, wiry, claws still soft. Her elders had encircled her, tossing her a dagger and pointing to a cage. Inside had been a creature, not dangerous, just helpless, a symbol. Strike, they'd commanded. To hesitate is to... She had obeyed. Even then, the price of glory was obedience. Kill without question, hunt without pause. But this man, this earth-scarred thing, refused to die. Worse, he refused to hate her. She awoke to the feel of metal pressing against her throat. She didn't move, didn't breathe. Derek knelt over her, knee pinning her arm, knife angled just above her jugular. His eyes, fierce and bloodshot, bore into hers, but his hand didn't shake. "I could have killed you 10 times over," he said, voice like gravel, "but I haven't." She didn't respond. Her claws flexed, just once. Derek sighed and pulled back. He dropped something beside her, her weapon. "You're not my enemy," he said, "but I will end this if I have to." Then he vanished into the mist again. Valzari sat in stunned silence. She stared at the blade, fingers twitching. He had spared her. Why? There was no advantage, no strategy. He'd had her completely, and still he'd let her live. Was it weakness or something else? Later, she watched from the trees as he knelt beside a cracked stone and held a battered canister to catch falling rainwater. His hands were steady as he stitched his own wound with bone needles. No sound, no complaint. He wasn't driven by rage or hunger for glory. He was just surviving. Like her. Like every soul tossed into this jungle. She didn't understand it. Kill or be killed. That was the rule, the only rule. That's what she'd always believed, what her people had carved into her bones. And yet, he had written a new rule in blood and bone. Your turn to run. But he hadn't killed her. He just wanted the game to end. From a satellite in high orbit, the council watched with growing agitation. Derek Cale was supposed to be dead by now. The test was intended to eliminate a problem. Humanity had grown too adept in negotiation, too influential. A symbolic death at the hands of a Virexian warrior would send the message loud and clear. Earth was not untouchable, but the plan was unraveling. Their huntress faltered, their prey endured. "This is becoming embarrassing," hissed Counselor Voon Cat, a tri-lobed entity with skin like glass. "We should have used orbital strikes from the start," grumbled another. "No, too obvious. But perhaps it's time we ensure a resolution." Orders were given. Drones launched. The jungle shifted. Both hunter and hunted paused. Almost at the same moment, a new scent, a mechanical hum. Derek turned his head slowly, squinting through the low fog. His hearing had adapted to this world, attuned to its pulses. This sound didn't belong. Valzari felt it too, her hackles rising. When the first drone screamed through the treetops, they moved as one. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They collided in the center of the clearing, shoulder to shoulder, weapons drawn. One drone descended from above, sleek, spherical, with twin plasma barrels. Derek fired first, an explosive dart fashioned from salvaged canisters and a ripped power cell. The drone shattered in flame, crashing to the forest floor in smoking ruin. Valzari leapt, claws tearing another from the sky mid-flight, her body arcing with alien grace. Sparks flew as the drone's rotors disintegrated. 3 more came in hot, faster, smarter. 6 o'clock, Derek barked. "I see it," she snapped, already moving. They circled back to back, instinctively forming a defensive spiral, their blades and makeshift grenades lashing out in unison. Valzari roared, deflecting a plasma bolt with a metal shield carved from drone wreckage. Derek ducked beneath her and hurled a vine-wrapped spear directly into another drone's intake. Vent explosion, smoke, silence. The last one hovered, scanning. Derek met its camera eye with a dead stare. "You watching, Council?" he growled. The drone paused, then retreated skyward. He didn't watch it leave. Instead, he turned to Valzari. She was panting, burnt, bleeding. So was he. And yet, neither looked away. "I thought you didn't kill unless you had to," she said, voice low. "I didn't have to kill you," he replied. "But them? That was necessary." She tilted her head, tail flicking. "You didn't hesitate, did you?" Their eyes locked. For the first time, they stood as equals. Not predator and prey, but warriors. All the rules were breaking, and something new was taking shape. End of section 3. 1200 words. Would you like me to continue with section 4? The enemy of my enemy. 1100 words next. You said. The jungle exploded in fire. A new wave of drones descended from the cloud-choked skies, their shells reinforced, their scanners burning with crimson light. Plasma raked the treetops. The ground erupted as bombs incinerated vines and stone. This wasn't cleanup anymore. This was extermination. Derek Cale ducked behind a felled root as energy blasts scorched the earth inches from his head. Zari landed beside him in a blur, crouched low, tail lashing. Her breathing was ragged, but measured eyes wild with fury, and something else. Focus. No more games, she snarled. Agreed, Derek said. We end this. Together, they moved. She bolted first, nothing but muscle and instinct. She darted up a tree, rebounded off a trunk, and landed mid-flight onto a drone, tearing it down with a shriek and a slash of her claws. Derek followed her momentum. He triggered a counterweight trap he'd pre-rigged earlier. Thick vine nets launched upward, entangling two drones mid-pattern. As they struggled, he sprinted beneath them and hurled his spear with precision honed by decades of urban war. Boom. One down. Valzari landed hard beside him, bleeding from her shoulder. More incoming. 10 seconds, Derek replied. Get ready. He tossed her a scavenged plasma cell. She sniffed it and smirked. You humans make ugly weapons, she growled. They work. Another swarm approached. 6 drones in formation. Valzari ran straight at them. Derek vanished into the smoke. From opposite ends of the battlefield, they attacked in tandem, her speed slicing through the outer flanks, his traps collapsing pathways and confusing targeting sensors. When a drone cornered her with a targeting laser, Derek launched a flash charge behind it, momentarily blinding its optics. She pounced. The jungle screamed as fire met fury. They fought like dual aspects of nature, rage and resolve, blood and bone. Valzari was speed incarnate, tearing through enemies with lethal precision. Derek was the storm's core, unbreakable, methodical, always 3 moves ahead. When the final drone spiraled down, leaking smoke and sparks, the battlefield was a cratered scar across the jungle floor. Silence returned. Valzari dropped to one knee, panting, her blade vibrating in her trembling grip. Derek stood beside her, limping, blood caked on his brow. Their eyes met. No more words were needed until she rose to her feet, turned toward him and offered a warrior's salute. Claws over heart, a low bow, eyes never leaving his. No one, she said slowly, has ever made me bleed, or made me hesitate. Derek, breathing hard, gave a nod. I didn't come here to fight, he said, but I will never die easy. They stood there, 2 soldiers from opposite worlds, bound now by more than battle. Then Derek reached into a pouch at his waist, now melted and half torn. He pulled out a small, battered device, an old Earth beacon. Transmitter, its surface scorched but blinking weakly. The jamming field dropped when the drones came in, he said. Valzari's eyes narrowed. You could have called for rescue the moment the battle ended. I waited, he said. Had to know if you'd kill me after. A beat passed. She didn't speak, just stepped back into the trees. Are you going to vanish on me? He asked. Valzari's tail flicked once. If we meet again, she said softly, I want a rematch. And with that, she disappeared into the mist, nothing but shadow and legend once more. Minutes later, the canopy split with thunder. Gunships roared in. Sleek black machines bearing the insignia of Earth's diplomatic task force. A squad of armored Marines fanned out across the jungle floor, weapons drawn, scanning for targets. Their commander froze at the sight of Derek standing among the wreckage of Virex Prime's jungle, bloodied and scorched, but alive. Sir, one of the Marines said in awe. You survived. Derek said nothing for a moment, just glanced toward the trees where no trace of the huntress remained. Yeah, he finally said. And I made a friend. The Marine blinked. Friend? Something. He liked that. High above the planet, In the gilded observation chamber of the Galactic Council, screens flickered with data, drone telemetry, and final footage of the battle below. One screen lingered on a moment. Vile Zari, the deadliest huntress of her kind, bowing to the human. The counselors were silent. Then the panic began. He survived. He defeated the drones. And she respected him. Do you understand what this means? If she speaks of this, if her people believe the humans equal, they will not be allies, Funkat whispered. They will be unstoppable. No one argued. Back on Virex Prime, the jungle began to regrow. Ash mixed with soil. Smoke drifted into the sky. And deep within the wilderness, a lone figure leapt silently from tree to tree, her eyes scanning the stars beyond the canopy. Zari smiled, lips curling back just slightly. She had never respected a hunt like that. She had never met prey who refused to be defined, and she had never ever been left wanting more.